Meanwhile, thousands of Cubans took part in rare protest Sunday against the communist government, chanting, "Down with the dictatorship," as President Miguel Diaz-Canel called on his supporters to confront the demonstrators. The anti-government rally started spontaneously in several cities as the country endures its worst economic crisis in 30 years, with chronic shortages of electricity and food. Police used tear gas to disperse crowds, and at least 10 people were arrested, while officers used plastic pipes to beat protesters. In Miami, meanwhile, thousands of Cubans and Cuban Americans also took to the streets of the city's Little Havana district in support of the protests, on foot or waving Cuban flags out of car windows. Diaz-Canel has been president since 2018, succeeding Raul Castro, who served as leader after his brother Fidel Castro. Public anger in Cuba has grown recently, driven by long food lines, worsening power shortages for several hours a day, and a critical shortage of medicine since the start of the COVID-19 crisis, with Cuba under U.S. sanctions.